So I feel like people are gonna look at me and be like, "Wait a minute. So you own this, but not that." But I tried to match my shirt for this. I thought it was clever. I'm wearing a Fast and Furious T-shirt. No, I'll give you a second to figure out how that connects to this review. I'm John Stark from MacTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic. And this is Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. Because Furiosa, Fast and the Furious. I don't have a Mad Max shirt, so um this is really all I got. I feel like there are people out there judging me hard right now. They're like, wait a minute, dude, you don't have a Mad Max shirt, but you have a Fast and Furious shirt? It's like, yeah, dude, there's like 10 movies in the franchise. It's super easy to find this. Uh, Mad Max is like, if you don't have a Fury Road shirt, it's it's just not as mainstream. There are a lot of people who haven't seen the first three films. So, but now we've got Furiosa, which I would love to say more people have seen, but obviously the box office does not reflect that. Anyway, this is on Max now with audio description. It's done by Deluxe, narrated by Laura Post, and the film is still directed by George Miller. We've got Anya Taylor-Joy playing sort of the adult version of Furiosa. This film splits her in age, so she's played also by a much younger child actress early on in the film. There's also Chris Hemsworth is here. So as Dementus, so that's cool. I pretty much didn't know anybody else in the cast. I did notice, I just did pick up on Elsa Pataki. I don't think she's a great actress. Also, uniquely, in really just kind of links my shirt to the movie anymore because she's also been in the Fast and the Furious franchise. So really, this is all just coming together. It's just I had the right choice. I also have a purple baseball cap on backwards, and I'm wearing black sunglasses. So, Furiosa. This is the origin story. The story that I've heard about this from Charlize Theron is that this was already written. And when she joined Mad Max Fury Road, like George Miller handed her basically, I don't know like if it was as polished as it is for this film, but basically handed her this and was like, this is Furiosa's backstory. And she was like, wow, great. So like she got to fully understand the depth of Furiosa's backstory. It wasn't just like she conceptualized it. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes when you write a film, maybe like The Fast and the Furious, and you're trying to figure out, well, who is Dominic Toretto? And Vin Diesel turns to Brian Robbins, the director of The Fast and the Furious, and says, well, who is Dominic Toretto? And Brian's like, I don't know, man. He's a racer. Family. Hashtag family. I mean, he didn't, it's not like he turns to Vin Diesel and he goes, actually, I've been thinking about that myself. So I wrote this prequel. It's called Dom. A Fast and Furious saga. No, I mean, it just goes to show just how meticulous George Miller is about this franchise and what he really thinks in going into this franchise. And I think there's a lot of that here. There's a lot of love and a lot of craft here. It's a very different movie than Mad Max Fury Road, and almost to a detriment. Because generally it's hard to slow things down when you've already sped them up. When you're moving in a forward motion and then you decide to kind of pull back a little bit, people notice. And I think that's what people have reacted to with Furiosa, is that for some people, they were expecting Mad Max Fury Road. To some extent, I would say I was too. Only because Mad Max Fury Road feels like an extension of what happens when George Miller is given a large-scale budget in this day and age, and then he's, like, 10 years later, he's doing Furiosa. So it feels like, man, if you were able to do Mad Max Fury Road 10 years ago, what are you able to do now? Well, from what I understand, there's more green screen, more visual effects, and less practical effects, which kind of breaks my heart because Mad Max Fury Road, I know I'm a blind film critic, but I lost my vision in 2017, so I was able to see Mad Max Fury Road. Looked gorgeous. Practical effects, you can't beat them. If you pay for them and you do them right, they look utterly fantastic. Some of the visual effects can look really good. There are some great VFX artists who just, you look at something and you're like, wow, I cannot believe that is what it is. And it's the love and care, but some of it feels rushed. Some of it doesn't always hold up great. It's funny how something like Jurassic Park still looks phenomenal today. It still looks like that's a real fucking dinosaur. And that's like 1993 effects. But the way Spielberg shot it and the care that they put into that film, mixing obviously practical and visual to make that thing work, just stunning, you know? But here, I don't know. I mean, if people are already able to spot green screen, that's not a great thing for the future, you know, like a great indicator for the future. The story starts off with Furiosa as a child. First of all, I love the fact that in like post-apocalyptic times, we all get to name our kids really cool shit. Like, what was the other kid's name? Like Phoenix or something like that? It was something really, like, it was like Phoenix and Furiosa. I was like, oh my God, like these names, you know, like, I feel like societally, we're not allowed to name our kids that kind of stuff, but be honest, like, you would love to be like, this is my son Rage. This is my daughter Death, you know, just like, but then you're like, oh my God, what if they want to run for Congress one day? You know, like, you have to start thinking about things like that. And you're like, oh, God, my daughter Death is going to want to become president. And but like in the post-apocalyptic world, you're like, nah, she just needs to sound cool as shit so that she can scare people off. Furiosa. Yeah, that'll scare people away, you know? I also love that actually is her name, and it's not like it was a name that was given to her. You know, like sometimes you see these characters when they're kidnapped as children and later on they're given a name. So like Imperator Furiosa would be like the name that she got later on, you would think, but it's not. It's actually given to her by her mom because we meet her in I love when they say the land of abundance, the land of abundance. But you know, at the area they tried to return to in Mad Max Fury Road, that Charlize Theron is like, I know where to go. And then they go there and the women are like, there's nothing here. It's all gone. Yeah. So that's that story. She gets picked up by some bikers who are like really like adamant about, I mean, this beginning scene, first of all, it's not really a spoiler. I mean, like, this girl gets kidnapped within, I think, the first 2 minutes of the film. I think she's just like chilling, and then she gets nabbed. I mean, like, the speed at which George Miller is like, we don't get to really establish the land of abundance. Like, it's barely, like, it's like, welcome, we're here. Oh my God, they're taking Furiosa. You know what I'm saying? And then we leave, and then we don't come back. And it's just like, I want to know more. They have horses. You know, it's just like, what? And there's some other girl, and she has a really cool name too. And I feel like we could make a movie about her. But alas. Anyway. So she gets taken, and her mom chases them down, you know, pretty much killing everyone, except not enough in enough time. So one last biker who's injured as fuck just rolls in and is like, I found this guy with Dementus. Whereas we're introduced to Chris Hemsworth as Dementus, who is glorious in this role. This is the best thing Chris Hemsworth has ever done. Hands down, I love Thor. Thor Ragnarok is a happy place for me. I love that film. I think it's Korg. It's one of the reasons I love that film so much. And I know that's weird because then it's like, oh, well, so you're a Taika fan. And it's like, I don't know if I'm just I mean, I like Taika most of the time. I wasn't like a huge fan of Next Goal Wins, but Korg, like, uniquely feels like the Marvel Cinematic Universe needed him. Like, we called for him and he came. And it's like, hey, I'm Korg. What's going what we got going on here? Like, I just love Korg. So yeah, this is the best performance Chris Hemsworth has ever done. To the point where I don't think this film is ever going to get Oscar nominations, but if somebody just suddenly said Chris Hemsworth Furiosa at the end of the year, I don't think I'd be that mad about it. I'd be like, you know what? That probably is the best thing he's ever done. If we're ever going to give Chris Hemsworth an Oscar nomination, it should be for this. Like, I don't know, especially considering because of his medical diagnosis, he said he was going to cut back on filmmaking. I don't know where he's going to go with this. Maybe he'll have another film later on, but he's so bold with his choices here, and he's so unlike everything else he's ever done before that it makes it really hard to say this is not the thing that he deserves to be touted for, you know. But it begins this weird relationship with Dementus, who obviously not Santa Claus. You know, some of these names are just like indicative of the type of personality they are. Um, and sort of introduced to this world, which is, you know, very dystopian and dark, and terrible things happen to people. And we have, you know, the same place that we go with Morton Joe. That's his name, right? With the gas and everything there, and the boys, and I think the sons are alive at this time, which kind of made me realize, like, how old are those kids? Because by the time Mad Max Fury Road rolls around, we got Charlize Theron. It was, you know, obviously supposed to be an older version of what we have here, so it's like, Jesus. Anyway, so yeah, he's got his kids. There's also the Bullet Farm, and we kind of bounce between these locations. And there's the stories, and there are some battles out on the road. There's Praetorian Jack, which is played by an actor I'm not familiar with, and so it may be really hard for me to remember his name. Tom something. I want to say Tom Brady, but that's not right. And he has more dialogue. Furiosa is just very stewingly angry for like the duration of the film. And this is where when you see people who were projecting Oscar nominations early on, and they were like, oh, I need Taylor Joy for Furiosa because Charlize Theron for Mad Max Fury Road. Listen, she just doesn't talk that much. Like, she'd be getting an Oscar nomination based on facial expressions. And I think Anya has a performance coming later on. It's like after the Queen's Gambit, we kind of know what she's able to do. So this is not going to be it for her. But this might be. I mean, I feel like Chris Hemsworth is worth talking about. And that's not just me trying to be like, let's prop up the dude over it's two totally different performances. And two very different actors who have had a very different resume and body of work. One of them is clearly working at the top of their game, and the other one is doing fine, but also has to live in the shadow of Charlize Theron's terrific performance in Mad Max Fury Road. So there's that. Some of the action sequences really work and are fun. There's a lot of driving around. I would say the pacing of the movie, not my favorite. The problem when you go from Mad Max Fury Road, which is like, you know, which is basically what everybody says it is. It's just like a giant race. Like, it's just a giant chase scene. But it's intense as hell, super fun. And it's amazing how when you break down how simplified that film is, and you still get character development. You get these really cool standout characters. It's not, for me, it wasn't just Charlize Theron. I loved Nicholas Hoult in that movie. I thought he did a phenomenal job. Tom Hardy was really good. The girls that played Never Escaping with them were really good. So yeah, here I kind of feel like Chris Hemsworth steals the movie. We don't really get to explore anybody uniquely for that long. that really made me go, wow, this performance. Um, but it's just not quite as impressive. Uh, when you swing and you hit such a massive, the grand slam to end all grand slams. Mad Max Fury Road feels like a World Series ending grand slam. Bases are loaded. The pitcher, the batter comes up, but it's the batter that has the worst hitting record on the team. Everybody's like, oh my God, it came down to this guy. Pitch is thrown, guy hits, knocks it way the fuck out of the park, and you're just like, oh my God, I didn't see that coming. That's Mad Max Fury Road. Bring everybody home, like, just unexpectedly. The team comes from behind to win it all. I don't think the expectation for Fury Road, coming off of the fact that how long it had been since the last Mad Max film, was quite as high as it ended up being once people saw it. And for Furiosa, it has to live in the shadows of this film. Now, Furiosa feels more like it's the kind of film that could have followed if we had actually done the timeline, right? If we flipped these films, because Furiosa, oddly enough, is a prequel to Mad Max Fury Road. It feels like the film that could have bridged the gap between the two films and could have gotten people interested in Mad Max again. But because we set the bar so high with Fury Road, it's almost an impossible task to live up to. And I don't think Furiosa does it. It's a good movie. I enjoy following the backstory, but it's just a very different vibe. And I think people are going to struggle with that. Not everybody saw the first three films, or they saw them a long time ago. And even if they did, Fury Road is just, I don't know. It's like on 1,000 milligrams of caffeine or something. It's just, it's its own thing. And the expectation from there would be to build from that and to go in a different direction and with the story, but certainly to go up. And I feel like it doesn't really do that. The fact that he needed green screen here, I think he needed green screen because they kind of do some stuff where they play around with parachutes, and maybe they didn't want to parachute the people. Maybe that was too dangerous. If I had to guess, I don't know what was VFX and what wasn't. So, that's just my thought on that. Anyway, the little girl does good work, but it's all through audio description for me, mostly for these characters, because again, they don't talk very much. It's like them staring. They talk a little bit, but kind of like what they put this little girl through. I'm sure like her performance was solid. Anybody who says it, I believe it. But yeah, she doesn't get to talk that much. Furiosa is not a talkative character. So, audio description, lower post audio description here is pretty awesome. There's some stuff, the character descriptions are really pretty good. Some of the stuff that is really specific. I like that, there's a mask that they put on one time, and they like a mask that appears to be made from a human skull. So it gives us, it doesn't just tell us kind of what but it actually says, intentionally, George Miller clearly, obviously, wanted this to look like it was somebody's skull. And little things like Dementus has this teddy bear like tied around he's sort of like a wannabe doctor, but he's got a teddy bear tied to his back. It's very weird. Not a lot in this film will ever make sense. The violence and the gore and the ripping of limbs and stuff like that, all of that. You do find out how Furiosa lost her arm. That happens in this film. So that because in Mad Max Fury Road, she's missing an arm at the elbow. So that is covered, and the scene was well described. So yeah, I thought overall the audio description by Laura was good. it's a tough film to describe. And as somebody who's seen Mad Max Fury Road and going into this, I'm trying to think about like how much of it was I filling in with my mind versus how much of it was the audio description doing for me. It's like I feel like I had a pretty good introduction on most of the characters. You know, when a character was missing an eye, there's like a character that's just free balling, open eye socket type of thing, and just like and you're like, oh, okay, dude, do we not have eye patches in the in this dystopian future of ours? So things like that, and it's it's well done. It's well done on their description. So lots of little things to describe along the way, and really sort of involved action sequences, but they're not always that. The film does like to stop and start, stop and start, stop and start, and have monologues and talking and quieter moments and more thoughtful moments, and then racing and then jumping, and then you know what I'm saying? Like it's just it's shorter chases too. So it's like I just need to make it over to that place, you know, instead of like this one long ass chase in Mad Max Fury Road. So it's a different film. It's long. It's about 2.5 hours. I think the film probably could have benefited from being a little bit shorter, just for pacing, because the film does kind of feel like it just kind of feel like a car that's going like, we're going, oh no, no. It's feel like you're stuck in traffic. You know what I'm saying? Like with like lots of stoplights, you know, and like in between the stoplights, you're able to go, and you're like, oh yeah, we're on a road and we're going up the stoplight. Oh, we're on a road. Oh god, it's stoplight. You know, it kind of feels like that. It's a little bit like the cinematic version of that. Whereas Fury Road feels like you got up on the toll road, and not only do you see that the speed limit has been increased for you, but there isn't a fucking person around. As a matter of fact, there's actually a sign that says, cops do not watch this road. And you can just go. So anyway, I have reviews up on my channel for Mad Max Fury Road, and also for the original trilogy, which sadly is on Max without audio description. So that was not a pleasant experience, but Mad Max Fury Road does have audio description. So if you want to check out any of those, feel free. I'm going to give Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, a B. I think it's fine. I think it's a good film. I just don't think it's a great film. And I think it should have made more money than it made, certainly, because just opening weekend alone, coming off of the goodwill of Fury Road before people were like, I don't know about this movie. I feel like the opening weekend should have been stronger, because it's like everyone liked Fury Road that I can find. I haven't really found anybody who's like, nah. I know a lot of people who've only seen Fury Road and haven't seen any other Mad Max films, but I still haven't found that, like, those people who are like, nah, I don't like that. Nah, it's dumb. So I feel like since everybody either saw it in the theaters or seen it since, for it to have such a low opening weekend really just is weird. It's just weird to me. But so it should have made more money because of that, its opening weekend should have been more. But I can understand if once people start watching it, if they're like, it's not quite the same thing. It's not what I thought. It's not what I thought it was going to be. But still, Chris Hemsworth, feels weird to praise him that much out of this film, but you just have to kind of see it to believe it. He's really good, and really trying to do something different here. And it worked for me. So, a really memorable Mad Max villain, I would say. So, anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And I will see you guys on the other side.